It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague in the danger zone in Rainford is Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Very, very well.
So do you remember
Absolutely
that time that we had
stepping.
that bet on week one games between Eagles and Washington?
No.
No, we didn't do that, did we?
No.
That's silly, isn't it? Because I finally won.
Silly are you.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying.
For me.
Pass on the back for Neil and his team that loves to throw downfield every play. And bad news for me and my killer defensive line.
I shall, I will hopefully chalk this down to an obsession with shiny new things, even though your old toys are actually just as good. With, the Eagles haven't had speed since week one of the 2019 season. Then all of a sudden they get Deshaun Jackson and Jalen Reagor and John Hightower. It's, gotta go deep. No, you really haven't. You don't have the time for these long developing plays. You don't have a running game. You have a makeshift offensive line, and the opposition have a pack of trained killers coming at your quarterback.
Yeah, bad mistake. We may come on to them later. Week one's happened, so this week we will be obviously dealing an overreaction to week one, as that's how that works. We're going to give you some fantasy buy, sell, or holds in terms of players you may or may not have and what you should do with them. We're going to give you the standard fantasy darling and fantasy losers of the week, and then give you our teams of the week. Should we start, Neil? Do this.
By all means.
Let's plug into the mains. So Neil, it's overreaction week one, and I want to just briefly talk about the two teams. One, the team you were most surprised by in a good way, and a team you were most concerned by in a bad way. So who was the team you were most surprised by in a good way?
Well, because I banged on about it, it would be remiss of me not to hold my hand up and praise the offensive play calling of the Seattle Seahawks, because they let Russ cook. Now, whether this is a meal that's going to be served out equally over the next 16 weeks, or whether this was just a stuff yourself now, boys, it's going to have to, but this is going to last after last year, I don't know. They were playing a crap defense. That can't be understated. But the fact was that they were more aggressive on first downs and early downs, than any other team in the NFL. Even though it wasn't like Russ was bombing it 40 yards downfield every play, he was still passing. And lo and behold, they were in control of the game long before the fourth quarter came around. So this is an encouraging sign. It's an excellent sign. I'd like to see them do it again before I'm prepared to anoint Brian Schottenheimer as his eyes are finally open.
I write a weekly column for the Touchdown. It's called Mains' Musings, where I think about 4 thoughts for the next week. My 4th thought this week, I'm just going to give you the headline because the article's not out yet. Thought 4, Pete Carroll, the gunslinger coach, lasts exactly 1 week. Who do you know? I know the answer to this. Do you know who the Seattle Seahawks are playing this week?
The Patriots of New England.
This could be the shortest game in Sunday Night Football history, as these are two teams who want to run a lot.
This game could finish before some of the 9 o'clock games.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of running. I was made up for Seattle, and that's why I picked Russell Wilson, right, as my quarterback and fantasy team of the week. But I don't see it lasting this week. My team that I was I guess surprised, probably the wrong word, but happy about was the Arizona Cardinals. Welcome back to the NFL. I'll be honest, I went to bed and then watched the games later, but I went to bed, say, halfway through the second quarter of the Arizona game. I think they were 10-0 down at the time. So to wake up and then watch it on Game Pass and be pleasantly surprised by how Arizona dealt with that situation is good. The Kyler Murray hype train continues. I wouldn't say it was spectacular, but he moved the chains and did the right things. And he did this thing that teams who don't have wide receivers, like the Texans, don't know how to do, and that's throw it to a really talented wide receiver. They have one called DeAndre Hopkins. If the Texans had someone like that, then maybe they would also do the similar thing.
I mean, I suppose a pleasant surprise would have been the fact that you were actually able to watch it on Game Pass.
Well, yeah, I was able to watch it on Game Pass because it was days later. Well, you know what I mean? If it was at live, then it would have been a problem.
Yeah. Game Pass has been, and will continue to be, an embarrassment to the fan base of the NFL in this country. Now, I'm told, having spoken to some people from across the pond, people whose living depends on getting the coach's film, to break it down for the idiots, that it isn't just restricted to this country with a shoddy product. It's embarrassing. For what we are paying for it, it is it's a disgrace, quite frankly, by the NFL. But I'll move on. Another thing that was a disgrace is that Jimmy Garoppolo probably leads the league in passes thrown to teammates that are going to get them killed.
Do you want to... Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme is Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins. I think there's a chance that Jimmy Garoppolo's benched before the end of the season.
There is a non-0% chance that Jimmy Garoppolo is actually shite. I'm just saying there's non-0% chance of that.
Exactly. Nearly, give me a team that you're concerned by after week one.
There's a few. I can think, the obvious one would be, the team of which I devote a lot of my time watching between the gaps of my fingernails. But I will not say them. I'll say the Minnesota Vikings because, again, I bigged them up and they were shown up. Now, if you actually watch the game on Game Pass, if you're lucky, if you pray to whatever God you believe in to let you actually watch the damn thing before it doesn't load or kicks you out, then Aaron Rodgers peppered them with some very, very pretty throws, but there were coverage busts all along the line. Their secondary is an issue, and speaking, as an Eagles fan who has watched his team play without corners largely for the last 3 or 4 years, 15 years, if you've got no corners, you've got no house. If you've got no house, you're going to let people in. And they did not look good. Now, I'm not prepared to say that this is Aaron Rodgers cooking a la back to 2010, because he wasn't perfect. He was very good. His numbers are gaudy, and he took what was given to him. And unfortunately for Vikings, he was given a great, great deal. The other team I'm slightly concerned with is the Indianapolis Colts, because it looks like they've just inherited the entire Phil Rivers experience. Yeah,
I was going. You stole my one, Neil, and that was literally what I was going to say. That what we may have found out, given the fact that the Los Angeles Chargers won by another team missing a field goal in the final seconds of a game, while Indianapolis, with Phillip Rivers, were down, driving to try and win a game and threw a back-breaking interception, is that for Los Angeles and San Diego, it wasn't you, it was him. I think that's a concern. For Minnesota, they have some young corners, and they need Donnell Hunter to play, and they need Yannick Ngakoue to be good, because they need pressure to save those corners. They had no pressure against Green Bay, hence they got absolutely gashed, because it was 8-7 at some point, and it could have been 24-7, and they gave up 40 odd points. So it was a bad one. For me, though, it is the Colts. I thought they'd be good. And I thought the Jags would be terrible. We both said that. We said we'd follow the Jags around all season. Minshew Mania's alive and well, which is good. That's good news. The way the Colts played wasn't good news.
The Podfather, of course, was one of the biggest fans of Baker Mayfield coming into the NFL. He actually is postulating the theory that Gardner Minshew is actually what we thought Baker Mayfield would be.
Right now, Gardner Minshew is infinitely better than Baker Mayfield. Again, in my column this week, my thought is that I've handed in my complimentary T-shirt and my card-paying membership to the Baker Mayfield fan club. It's over.
No longer feeling dangerous.
No longer feeling dangerous. Although tonight he could rip it up, and then I may have to rewrite the article before it's posted. But there you go.
The next pass Baker Mayfield throws with his feet set will be the first pass he's thrown with his feet set for about 2 years.
Yes, agreed.
And I'm not a film guru, and I can spot that.
Yeah, we can see that coming a mile away, right? Okay, Neil, let's move on. What we want to look at is some performances by players, good and bad, and whether we believe that means you should buy or sell them in fantasy. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, speaking of important players, quote unquote, on the Cleveland Browns, we're going to start with Odell Beckham Jr. You may remember him from being good at football. Is it really time to start selling OBJ?
Yeah. Good God, man, take leave. Get whatever you can for him. Get him off your roster. In his 17 games as a member of the Cleveland Browns, he has commanded an average of 8.4 targets for 4.5 receptions and 62.1 yards per game, with a 0.224 touchdown average per game. That's 12.2 PPR points. In 59 games with the New York Giants, with the ghost of Eli Manning at quarterback, lest we say, he averaged 10 targets, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and 0.75 touchdowns. That's 20.5 PPR points per game. The point you can also say that if we go with splits, Baker Mayfield was better when Odell Beckham was not on his team. I'm not blaming Beckham. I'm just saying that sometimes you can't force chemistry. Let's look at Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman for details. You can't just make chemistry happen.
You mean they went in love?
Yeah, they exuded about as much sizzle as a service station chip. So you look, Mayfield, in his first season, he averaged 34 pass attempts, completed 22 of them, 266 yards per game, 7.92 yards per attempt, 1.93 touchdowns, and 1 interception per game. In the 17 games since, pass attempts, similar, 33. Completions are down to 19. Yards are down to 235. Yards per attempt is down to just over 7. Touchdowns are down. Interceptions are up. He's trying to feed Odell Beckham, which can work if you throw enough balls at the coconut, you're going to hit them eventually. But it's to the detriment of the team. Now, you can't have... ideally, having a wide receiver who's going to command 10 targets per game in fantasy, that's what you want. But when the targets are of such poor quality, because the wide receiver's thinking one way, the quarterback's thinking the other, the ball's gone in a completely different direction, what's the point?
Next person, Neil, Aaron Rodgers. We've spoken about him briefly, momentarily. Do you think we continue going forward with Rodgers?
No, I'm convinced that he's anything above a matchup-based streaming option. Yes, he threw 4 touchdown passes last season. In game, he only threw more than 2 touchdowns in 3 games last season. So listen to these teams he did it against. The Oakland Raiders, he threw 5. The Kansas City Chiefs in Week 8, so before they became a defense, and the New York Giants in Week 13. There's a common theme between those 3 teams. They were crap defensively.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings were crap, and he feasted on them. Now, this week, he's got another crap defense. He's probably, you'd say he's very likely to put up similar numbers again. But in the Matt LaFleur era, he has averaged 1.8 passing touchdowns per game. Take away the diabolical defenses that he faced last week and the ones he's going to face this week, and I think he's going to revert back to that. It's nice to see it, but don't get used to it.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it.
I'm with you on Rodgers, because I think much like Carroll in Seattle, they will go back to a running game when they can. Next person, Neil, is Austin Eckler. Where do we stand on Austin Eckler?
If you took him in the second round, you should be more than happy with the fact that he got 20 touches in week 1. That's the silver lining. He had 19 rush attempts and only 1 target. Now, they say, our scheme, it doesn't really cater for targeting the running back. Then his scheme's crap. You know, if you fit your scheme to match your players, not the other way around. I say so. Ridiculously small sample size, but in the Phil Rivers era, Austin Eckler averaged 6.6 rush attempts per game. He had 19 last week. The worry is, I say, that he needs to continually get that amount of volume, because if he's not going to get targets and he didn't get the goal line work either, he's going to have to hit on some big plays. But we chase volume in fantasy. You took Austin Eckler in the second round. This is what you wanted. You wanted 20 touches a week, and that's what he's giving you. So if you took him there, you hold. I'm not saying you buy, you don't sell, you hold.
Someone who had some seriously concerning numbers in Monday Night Football, James Conner, Neil. Where do we stand on James Conner?
Sell, get out. He's too brittle. Now, the story of James Conner is obviously an inspirational one. You know, anyone who beats cancer, believe me, is okay in my book. But the fact of the matter is, he has shown that his body has not developed or recovered to the extent that he can handle an NFL caliber workload. Every time they try, he gets hurt. And the fact of the matter is, Benny Snell can execute this offense just as well as James Conner did. If it just means that, you know, they don't sprinkle in as many passes for Benny Snell, they work in some Jalen Samuel, they've got the tight ends they didn't use. That's what they're going to do. But if you've got James Conner, sell. Or, you know, it may come to the point that you can't sell, you just have to cut loose.
Oh my goodness. That won't be good. And final one, Neil. Naheem Hines. Given the details of Marlon Mack, where do we stand on Hines?
You buy Hines. I mean, the encouraging thing for Hines and Mack and Jonathan Taylor owners last week was all three of them were getting involved. Before Marlon Mack got hurt, he was getting carries, he was getting reception targets. Hines was getting carries, he was getting targets. Jonathan Taylor came in, he got it. They were going to mix him in. This is the Phil Rivers effect. He likes to throw to his running backs, even running backs that in the past haven't really garnered that amount of attention. Now you take Marlon Mack away, this now becomes a clear. Jonathan Taylor's going to be the early down back. He's going to get a few receptions, but maybe the main bulk of the passing down work, you know, in third downs, obvious passing situations, maybe that's when Naeem Hines comes in. And if last week shows us anything, is that this team, it's not going to be a bulldozer through the NFL. They are going to get in situations where they need to pass the ball. So I think Naheem Hines, I'm not going to say plug him in and play him every week. You know, he's your RB1, RB2, but he's going to have flex appeal, especially now that 3 has become 2 in that backfield.
Agreed, Neil, agreed. See Danny Woodhead and et al. For details in how Phil Rivers deals with players like Naheem Hines. That's it on Plugged Into the Main. So let's go deep into fantasy and find out who Neil's fantasy darling of the week is.
Hello, darling.
Now, as we stand at the moment, we don't know what's happening with Michael Thomas. He says, well, they say he's got a high ankle sprain, but he might play through it. Don't be so bloody stupid. This offense didn't look good against Tampa Bay. By the way, there was a sketch on the Fast Show. This is one for the kids. This was called a sketch comedy show, which if you actually watch it again now, it's not funny. But there was a sketch at one point. It basically was like a fight film. It was called The Big Long Punch Up. And it started with two fellas swinging at each other, you know, repeatedly. But then they cut back later and the punches are getting more and more drawn out as these two men literally punch drunk, staggering, swinging haymakers at each other. That's what it was like watching Tom Brady and Drew Brees on Sunday.
Old guy fight.
Yeah, pretty much old guy fight. You know, the arm strength. Brady looked like he had more zip on his arm than Brees, which is, you know, is not a huge shock. But Drew Brees did not look good. Now, if Michael Thomas is hobbling, then it's not good for him either. So you have to look at where's Brees going to go. If Thomas, you know, he might sit. You'd think a bit of sense, sit him until he's healthy. Well, I think one of the big beneficiaries of any illness or any absence or any injury is actually Traquan Smith. I mean, Smith actually played a healthy amount of snaps in week 1. He played more snaps than Emmanuel Sanders. So I think if you extend that and say, well, he's already going to be on the field, now we've got these targets that are going to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. Smith has shown in the past, I mean, he's had 2 30-point games in fantasy football. And most people have forgotten about him if they ever knew him. He's currently only on 4.7% of ESPN rosters, and this week, it looks like one of those games that they're going to throw the ball because the secondary they're facing is not great. So I like Traquan Smith this week. Oh, by the way, the Chargers have shown that they continue to have excellent injury luck. Marquise Pouncey, was it Mike Pouncey? Mike Pouncey is having hip surgery and is missing the rest of the season.
Sigh. The Chargers are obviously the losers there, but let's find out who Neil's fancy loser is this week.
Now, it might have appeared last week that we'd gone back to the magical world of 2016. You know, that time before the world seemed to collectively lose its shit. But unfortunately, the David Johnson comeback tour is not happening. Yes, he was good last week. Yes, he handled 50% of the team rushes. Yes, he averaged 7 yards per carry. Yes, he had 13% of the team targets. However, and in my notes, I have written, the Ravens are going to kick the crap out of the Houston Texans. And that basically means, look, there's no point David Johnson even being out here. Send in the clowns. Get us up, get out, stay out, and get the stars out. Because the Ravens are going to be all over him. So I don't like Johnson this week. I think he showed enough to suggest that maybe there is some life in the old dog yet, but I don't think he's going to do anything of note against the Ravens, which is a shame because there's only 2 9 o'clock games on this week, and we're going to see an awful lot of it.
Are you suggesting they're not going to show a lot of Arizona against Washington? that absolute ratings bonanza. Let's be honest. If you watched any of the Baltimore game last week, what the NFL didn't need was Lamar Jackson to go, do you know what else I can do? I can stand in the pocket and throw absolute darts to fucking everyone. Shizzle. That's not good for the NFL. Pay attention. That's not great.
It was wonderful to watch the second best quarterback in the NFL doing quarterbacky things.
Yeah, frightening. And some teams can't have a quarterback, and like he's doing things like that. Either I'll stand there and throw darts, or I'll run like Usain Bolt past people. Sorry, that's a cheat code and needs to be removed from the NFL immediately.
Yeah, that is unsportsmanlike conduct, Lamar.
So fantastic, Neil. Let's get on to see teams of the week.
Mains and Duds. Daily Fantasy Team of the Week.
Show me the money.
Show me the money indeed. Cuba Gooding. As always, this is DraftKings, Standard League, quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a defence and special teams. Neil, who's your quarterback this week?
My quarterback's 6,700, and believe me, this was the first name on the team sheet, and that's Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills are playing the Miami Dolphins. Let's just have a quick look at what Josh Allen has done against the Miami Dolphins in his NFL career. 4 games, he's averaged 228 passing yards, 2.5 passing touchdowns, 79 rushing yards, and 33.4 PPR points per game. QB1 in week 2, Josh Allen.
The funny thing about Josh Allen is you could watch
He's actually shit.
Yeah, but you could watch it as a Josh Allen absolute hater and go, oh my God, this dude's shit. Or you could watch it as a Josh Allen apologist and say, but look at what he does. And both people could possibly be right, although he's technically not good.
The pass he threw to John Brown in the end zone when literally John Brown was so alone. He was so alone. He was sat in the back of the end zone listening to Morrissey albums. That's how lonely he was, and Josh Allen still couldn't find him. But Miami may be poo.
Miami are poo, and the sooner we get to a Tagovailoa, the better. We've seen the Ryan Fitzpatrick series before. My QB1 is I can't quit him. It's Phil Rivers, 5,900. Phil, for the love of all that is sacred, Stop it. Stop it. For once in your life, stop it. Behave yourself. Do as the coaches tell you. Stop forcing throws into places. You're playing the Minnesota Vikings. They have no corners. Do the good thing and score a lot of points. Neil, who's your running back one?
By popular demand, $10,000, Christian McCaffrey. Now, he actually had two of his worst games last year against Tampa Bay, but he's Christian McCaffrey. This should be, again, another entertaining shootout-style game, I think. And we know that Teddy Bridgewater was surprisingly aggressive throwing the ball against Las Vegas. Don't know whether that will continue, but he's Christian McCaffrey. It's $10,000. It's not expensive.
My running back one is Derrick Henry. He's 7,900, and he's playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm still not sure the Jaguars are good, and the whole offense is Derrick Henry in Tennessee. What I will say is, like, don't be getting cute with your kicker. If he misses that many kicks, he should be fired. As I state every year, at least once on this show, America, you've got a problem with kicking. If you're going to keep it in the league, you should have 32 English lads. This isn't complicated. What they are doing is simple. Not agreeing with Wes on, oh my God, there's really heavy lads running at them. Yeah, but there's a lad the other side blocking it. Let's not worry about it. Kick it straight, kick it true. It's not difficult.
Good thing about Derrick Henry that actually we should look for going forward, and this isn't just applicable to Henry, it's applicable to all Titans players, is they ran a lot of plays. They were finishing, getting up to the line. Their game pace was phenomenally good. Whereas in the past under Mike Vrabel, they've been really down at the bottom because they want to run the ball, play defense. No, they came out saying, no, let's put some numbers up. So that's encouraging going forward.
What I'll also say is a minute ago, Adam Schefter said that A.J. Brown missed practice with a bone bruise in his knee, jeopardising his availability for Sunday, which makes Derrick Henry an even bigger buy. Yeah,
Terrell Owens 2.0 does not need two knees. He's fine.
Running back 2, Neil.
Jonathan Taylor, 5.7K. I say he is now the lead dog. The Minnesota Vikings obviously were lit up on the back end, but I think Taylor's good enough. They've got a good enough offensive line. We don't know, say, about Daniil Hunter. We don't know what Ngakoue is going to be like. I'd like Taylor to get a healthy workload on the ground, sprinkled in with a few receptions as well.
Yeah, my running back 2 is the second part of that double act. It's Naheem Hines. He's 5,300. I think he gets a lot of the catches, and I think he's going to score some points. And I needed the $400 elsewhere, so I went with Hines. Wide receiver 1, Neil.
I'm going to hook up Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs. Now, last week, I think it was 8 for 81. Looked okay. Did get one hit where it was clear as soon as he caught the ball, he was going to be folded up like a cheap deck chair. And it happened. But he got up, he got on with it. And the big surprising thing, of course, was how pass-happy the Bills were. Now, if that does continue here against Miami, who are weak in the defensive backfield, then that's good news for Stephon Diggs because he seems to already have a degree of chemistry with Josh Allen. So this may be, of course, one of those things where Diggs may get all the catches, but Brown or Beasley or Dawson Knox get the touchdowns, but life's a bitch. So 6,500, I'll take Diggs with Josh Allen.
My wide receiver 1 is Nuke Hopkins, 7,700, Arizona against Washington. They fed him 1 billion times against San Francisco. That will continue this week. I think San Francisco's secondary is better than Washington, so he might even get more points. Yes, so Nuke Hopkins, 7,700. Who's your wide receiver 2, Neil?
Wide receiver 2 is the aforementioned Traquan Smith, 4,100.
My wide receiver 2 is $5,000, and to get a wide receiver 1 on a team for $5,000 is good, and that's Darius Slayton in New York Giants. They are playing the Chicago Bears. a bright spark in an otherwise shockingly another embarrassing day for the New York Football Giants on Monday night. For those who aren't paying attention, in the past 3 years, no team has won less games than the New York Giants, and in that 3-year window, the Browns went home in 16.
They had a 19-play drive on Monday night that ended with an interception.
Yeah, their quarterback either throws interceptions or fumbles the ball. They have a running back who they spent a massively high draft pick on, who can't get anywhere because there's 9 men in the box because their offensive line's garbage and the quarterback can't throw. The team is completely devoid of talent at all levels and need to be blown up. New York needs to suspend football in the state of New Jersey.
A Jets fan friend of ours did send me this message earlier. I'll just read it for everyone to enjoy it. Jets starting receivers this Sunday: Brashard Berryman, Chris Hogan, Braxton Berrios, and Josh Malone. Make it stop.
My response, because I got the exact same text, was who? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Then I put in a different sport, Reds are signing Thiago and a kiss. He put, needed that dude, much love.
I just responded with, good God, man. There was very little else I could say.
He's already dead.
Yeah.
Who's your wide receiver 3, Neil?
My wide receiver 3 is the king of offensive pass interference himself, Mr. Michael Gallup, 5,600. The Cowboys are facing Atlanta in a game where defenses need not attend.
Yes, my wide receiver 3 is Preston Williams, 4,800, Miami playing Buffalo. With a possibility that the other wide receivers are injured, Preston Williams has a chance to be wide receiver 1 in that game. So, yeah, 4,800, got to take it.
He does, of course, have the opportunity to be wide receiver 1. And, as part of that prize package, he gets, a personalised pen, a T-shirt with his name on it, and Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, I know. But I think, my goodness, the name escapes me, of the actual wide receiver 1 on the Miami Dolphins.
Devontae Parker.
I actually think he might play, but not be fit. So
right.
Therefore they go to Williams anyway. And because he plays, White is on him. Who's your tight end, Neil?
Tight end is this year's redemption story. Logan Thomas, 3,600. 27% of team targets last week for the football team.
Football team.
We saw last year that Arizona were historically inept when it came to covering tight ends. Arizona was so bad at covering tight ends last year that this year, to make them feel a bit better, George Kittle's quarterback threw him injured just so he couldn't rip them apart. And of course, so we have, as Davis Mattek pointed out on Twitter, we have the two intersecting narratives here. One, the Cardinals are terrible against tight ends. And two, the Cardinals actually drafted Logan Thomas as a quarterback. So we have a revenge game as well. So 3,600, I'm going Loto.
I'm absolutely devastated how many people are going to have to watch that game. People shouldn't have to watch Washington, even though they won last week. They ran it for 3 yards a carry, but we'll go on to them. My tight end is Hunter Henry, Chiefs at Chargers. Chiefs batter Los Angeles here, but Tyrod Taylor doesn't throw it far and will use his tight end a lot. And Kansas City are not usually great against tight ends. So 5,100, Hunter Henry.
Henry did have, I think it was the second highest target share among all tight ends last week. Obviously, you would hope he may be looked at in the red zone. It'd be lovely as well, of course, if Tyrod Taylor, instead of just throwing to Mike Williams, he could stop throwing to Mike Williams where a split second later, he's going to get lit up.
Yeah, it is literally... He went to the Jimmy Garoppolo school of throw my wide receivers or my pass catches into injury.
It's listen, Mike, you're going to have to make a business decision here. That's the playbook.
Yeah. It's not good. Neil, who's your flex?
My flex is Chase Edmonds, 4,600. He got quite a healthy workload as the second back last week. Obviously, Kenyon Drake is the main one, but Chase Edmonds, he got a few carries and he was using the passing game. He did catch a touchdown, and plus he sprung an excellent block for Kyler Murray's touchdown run. Now, coaches, especially coaches who run the ball, they love that shit. If you go out and block like that, you're going to get plays, and I'm banking on it this week, 4,600.
My flex is 5,300. It's Alan Lazard, Detroit at Green Bay. As me and Neil said, we're not sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to throw a lot in all the games, but I don't know if anyone saw the fourth quarter collapse by the Detroit Lions, making sure that everyone knows that 2020 things may have changed in a lot of situations, but the Lions are still the Lions. They're going to probably score a lot of points, Green Bay, and Alan Lazard is probably wide receiver 2 now on the Green Bay Packers. Now, correct, don't get me wrong, like the gap between wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 on the Green Bay Packers is probably the distance between me and Neil. And Neil lives in the Liverpool area and I live in East Anglia. So it's pretty distant, but he's still the second option.
I did like watching the offense. I liked how many people they did try and get involved in like the manufactured touch category. Like they were doing them little pop passes to the running backs, doing it to Alan Lazard as he's coming across on the jet actions. It did look inventive. I'm just not sure how long they'll stick with that before they decide, now we've got running backs, plough into the line, boys, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, who's your defence and special teams, Neil?
Defensive special teams, 3,000 is the Arizona Cardinals against the football team. Because, as pointed out, Washington didn't score a point on a drive that began in their own half. The Eagles massively let the football team off the hook last week. I think that Arizona are an aggressive enough defense that they will not make the same mistake. I'm not sure. I say this is a little bit, of a. I hope they can do some damage in the sacks and interceptions part, but also I hope that they don't bother covering Logan Thomas.
I also have the Arizona Cardinals against the football team. As you said, Washington's yards per play was 3.7, which I believe was the lowest in the NFL. They were 17-0 down and won by 10 points. As I say a lot in this type of situation, people should have been fired in Philadelphia. Lots of people. And soon, if things don't improve, there's going to have to be a Carson Wentz discussion that no one wants. Let's recap. Neil, quarterback.
Quarterback is Josh Allen.
I've got Phil Rivers, running back 1.
Christian McCaffrey, no matter what.
I've got Derrick Henry, running back 2.
Jonathan Taylor.
I've got Naheem Hines, wide receiver 1.
Stephon Diggs.
I've got DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 2.
Traquan Smith.
I've got Darius Slayton, wide receiver 3.
Michael Gallup.
I've got Preston Williams, tight end.
Loto.
I've got Hunter Henry, flex.
Chase Edmonds.
I've got Alan Lazard, defense and special teams.
The Arizona Cardinals.
Also the Arizona Cardinals, which is weird. We usually have about three players the same, but we only got one this week, and it's a group. It's the defense. Neil, that's the end of the show. So where can people catch you this week?
Find me on the Twitter at endupton13. Done a bunch of stuff this week. I did my weekly stats from week 1, which probably out of date by now when you look at it. I've done the tight end report for Rotoviz, which looks at stats from week 1, production and efficiency metrics, transactions, injuries, and gives you 3 tight end streamers. I've also started doing a weekly series looking at Super Bowl winning odds for Numberfire. This is going to look at teams who, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook, are the biggest movers from week to week. And also, I'm doing a bunch of stuff for the Ravens Wire this week. I've done 5 facts you didn't know you didn't need to know about the Texans against the Ravens. I've also done a scouting report on the Texans-Ravens, looking at the Texans' offense and defense from a tendency and production point of view. Busy at endupton13, and come along with me for the journey.
I am at Mandy7. Combine me at waxing_lyrical this week. My article will be out late Friday, early Saturday, with Mandy's musings. 4 thoughts for week 2. See where we go from there. Hope you enjoyed the show. as we always do. If you do like it, tell your mates about it. You never know, we might get more than 4 people listening soon. And on that note, these top guys are out.